Good afternoon. Uh, Welcome to U.S. History. Today, Tuesday, March 31st. Um, this is the first of a series of video lessons that I'll go through. I try to keep them brief, no longer than 10 minutes or so each day. But each day I'll talk about a different aspect of the topic that we're covering that week. So the topic for this week is manifest destiny. So that's what I'll be discussing a bit of today, tomorrow, Thursday, Friday, for the rest of the week. And hopefully this will help you as you attempt to complete the Nearpod activity on Manifest Destiny. Again, I know it's a long activity. You don't have to do it all in one day, and it should save your progress as you move through the activity each day. If you choose not to complete it uh, all at one time. If you've already completed it, you can still watch these videos and go back and tweak some things if you feel like you need to. But before we jump into the content, we're going to do a few housekeeping things, or we're going to talk about a few housekeeping issues because this is new for everybody. This distance learning. Um, so we're going to talk about a few things to try to make this as smooth as possible, to try to make sure that none of us get in trouble using technology and doing what we're supposed to do as we uh, complete the school year or go up until May 1st at the current time, using this e-learning platform. First thing I want to talk about is some procedures and expectations. Guys, you're expected, I know you already know this, you're expected to log on every day. But at the same time, taking attendance is tricky at this point. But as long as I get some kind of contact from you, whether that's completing a daily poll question, if you're getting at me on Edsby to ask me questions about the activity, then obviously I know you've logged in and you're working on an activity that day. There are plenty of different ways of assessing whether or not you have actually logged on, but most of it is for you to be accountable. You guys are old enough, you're almost high schoolers, so at this point, you're old enough to hold yourselves accountable. Do what you need to do so that we can so that you can make sure that you end the school year on a good note. But at the very least, again, answer the daily poll question on Edgeley that I'll post every day, um, and it should disappear at about 11:59 um, every every evening. So make sure you go on answer that question. That'll be a way for me to assess that you've gotten on and at least check the Edsby page every day. When you're working on your activities, um, have integrity. Don't cheat on the activities. They're not that hard. It just requires a little bit of effort, a little bit of work. Um, Already looking at your Nearpod activities, you got a lot of open-ended questions, which we didn't do a lot of in the classroom. But open-ended questions are meant for you guys to think on your own and come up with an answer from your own brain concerning the topic that's being discussed. So don't finesse it, don't cheat it, don't Google it and then copy and paste something. It's very easy to know when you guys are copying and pasting because a lot of times the places that you grab these answers from are using vocabulary that you don't use in the classroom that I've never heard you use before. So just just do the work. Again, it's not that hard. I'm not going to expect you to be a historian by the end of this, but do the work, learn the lesson, learn the material, because it's not going to do anything but benefit you in the future. Um, I put due dates up for every lesson. Want that lesson to be completed by the due date. So this week, Manifest Destiny, the Nearpod activity was put up yesterday, Monday, and it's expected to be completed by Friday, 11:59 p.m. April 3rd. April 3rd. Yes. Anything else? That's all I can think of as far as lesson expectations, procedures right now. Um, if you're having any trouble with Nearpod, which most of you have done already, have begun to reach out to me. If you're having any trouble, any questions about what you're doing on Nearpod or about not being able to submit, then get at me on Edsby, get at me in email. If you don't know my email address, I will pin it to the class Edsby page. But you can get at me in Edsby. Parents, if they need to get at me, they can get at me in Edsby in order to ask those questions that you might have about the lessons or about submitting activities. Worst case scenario, we'll take pictures and share them on Edsby of our assignments if that needs to be done, or we can copy and paste the answers from the Nearpod activity and put them into an Edsby message. Everybody should have accessibility to the class page at this point. I realized yesterday, Monday, March 30th, a lot of people could not answer the daily poll question on the page, on the class page. But I think I fixed that, and I've noticed that a lot more people are able to answer that daily poll question directly on the class page. So do that. There shouldn't be a reason to message me your daily poll question answer anymore going forward. Tomorrow, I'm hosting my first Q&A Zoom lesson at 10 a.m. It'll go till about 10:40 a.m. But it's just Q&A. It's Q&A about Manifest Destiny, about your Nearpod activity if you need to ask, or if you're still confused on something and you don't want to go through the trouble of trying to reach out on Edsby, you can attend the Zoom lesson and ask your question there live. It'll be through all chat. You'll see me and I'll be talking, but I will not have you guys' audio enabled. So you're just typing your questions into the chat and I'll read them out and I'll answer the questions as I go through. Won't be able to see your faces. That's all safety issues, guys, because I do plan on posting these Q&A sessions on a YouTube page that I've made that'll be accessible through you guys' Edsby account. For those people who cannot participate and cannot make it to the live Zoom session. So the Zoom isn't mandatory. You don't have to be there, but if you do have a question, feel free to pop in, ask your question, and as soon as you get your answer, you can pop out or you can hang around to see what other questions other students might have in case those questions impact you too. Again, that Zoom lesson is tomorrow. Make sure we staying appropriate in the chat. Make sure your questions are school appropriate, yada, yada, yada. Yeah, a lot of this stuff doesn't need to be said, but we're gonna say it anyway. One last thing about resources, you guys can access the classroom textbook if you need to as an extra resource in case you're having trouble with anything. You can access the textbook through Clever, and I'm gonna go through how you can do that now by showing you on my screen. So I've gone on to clever.com. I don't know what you guys' homepage looks like, but if I scroll down to, for one, if you click on the class, I think it might help. So I have all of these different classes. If I click on one of them, it'll give me a list of you guys' names and different applications that I can launch that relate to US history. So you can access Nearpod from here. You can access Office 365 from here, which I think that everybody has access to. You can also access McGraw-Hill, and that's where our textbook is. I'm gonna go to it from my home page. If I launch McGraw-Hill, it'll take me to the classroom textbook. There'll be some days that I might assign something from the classroom textbook. I have you look through the classroom textbook to answer a question or two, just to utilize it. But most things will be done through Edsby, through Nearpod, or through other means. So click the textbook and I can navigate it using the drop down menu. I can go to any of the chapters. Let's not do Spirit of Independence. We are on Manifest Destiny. Click go. And it'll give me various resources related to Manifest Destiny and to whatever lessons we're going through. So if you need it, that textbook is there for you. It's free. You should be able to access it through your Clever account. All right, so I think that's it for the housekeeping right now. If I think of anything, I'll drop it into another video. But now let's go through the lesson. Before we jump into Manifest Destiny, I wanted to do a quick overview of Andrew Jackson. So as we left off with Andrew Jackson, I think that every class at least got to the Jackson's Indian policy. Through his Indian policy, we know that Jackson was responsible for uprooting and moving thousands of Native Americans from their lands east of the Mississippi River into what he called the Indian Territory, which is in modern day Oklahoma. Thousands of those Native Americans perished on that journey or passed away because of a lack of food, because of the distance that they were walking, because of age. We had a lot of older Native Americans that were forced to make a thousands of mile trip in various weather climates. It was snowing at times because the journey took so long. It might have been extremely hot at times with the change in the seasons. But plenty of Native Americans passed away through Jackson's Indian policy. And that was just a continuation of our mistreatment of Native Americans in United States history. So that was Jackson's Indian policy. And it was just about removing as many Native Americans as he could from lands east of the Mississippi River. And that was so that he could provide more lands for white Americans to grow and to spread and to farm and use those lands for United States purposes instead of for those Native Americans. It did lead to what we know as America today, but it definitely was a tragic situation as it related to the Native Americans. That's all I got. So after Jackson's Indian policy, some classes were able to make it to the nullification crisis. Most classes, I think, weren't. The nullification crisis, as it pertains to Jackson, was about him dropping a tariff on foreign goods. And as some classes have discussed, and as some of us know, tariffs were meant to promote American business. If we put tariffs on, if we place taxes on imported goods that we got from other countries, then that would encourage Americans to buy American goods. And in turn, that would boost the American economy. And we still see tariffs being used today. All presidents use them, not just the current president that we have. Obama's used tariffs, Clinton's used tariffs, Bush has used tariffs. And again, the general spirit of the tariff is to promote American business. It's not supposed to be used, or it's not meant to be used in a racial way. So to just tax a country's goods just because we don't like that country, it's simply meant so, if we're making cars and this other country is making cars, our economy is going to do better if we buy the cars that are made by the Americans versus we buying an imported car. That's for the economy. Personally, you can drive whatever you want. I'm not saying anything like that. I drive a Nissan. I don't think it's an American car anyway. But that's the spirit behind tariffs. So the nullification crisis, southern states had trade relationships with foreign countries, more particularly Great Britain. We know that the cotton that was grown in the South on southern plantations was sent to northern factories, so factories in the North United States, but it was also sent into countries like Great Britain. to those factories. And when they got that cotton, they take that cotton and make it into different textiles like blankets, clothes, socks, underwear, whatever you need. Whatever you might need was that could be made from cotton would be made at those factories. So again, if we bought this blanket from Great Britain instead of buying this blanket that came from Massachusetts, then it would hurt American economy. It'd take money out of those people's in Massachusetts pockets, and therefore they had no money to spend, and that's how it would affect the economy. Um, so the South was not very pleased, and they threatened to secede from the Union. They threatened to leave the United States. And Jackson is a hard-nosed guy, tough guy. He didn't take that laying down, but at the same time, he realized that he needed to make concessions. He needed to compromise a bit in order for the betterment of the Union. And even if he didn't understand that, his cabinet and the Congress understood that, yo, we can't just take a army into the South and just wipe everything out, or force them to abide. We have to make concessions as well for the betterment of the United States. So eventually, Jackson and Congress lowered this tariff. The southern states, led by South Carolina and John C. Calhoun, they stepped down, or they bit down and said, all right, we'll back off. We're not going to leave, but we need y'all to meet us halfway. And again, Congress did. And so the Union was saved. Lastly, about Jackson's presidency is his war with the Second Bank of the United States. He fought the Bank of the United States because he believed that the bank would just benefited the elites, benefited the rich. And he thought that these banks took advantage of the poor people. And remember that Jackson was a president that made his reputation as being a man of the people. And a man of the common people, not the rich. So Jackson fought the bank and fought its corruptness, and eventually destroyed the Second Bank of the United States in order to make banking for the common man a lot more profitable, or not as profitable for the rich, so that the common man can benefit from banking just like the rich did. All right, so in order to be able to fit this all in one video, I'm going to go into Manifest Destiny in a second video. So stay tuned for that, and I'll post that right after I post this video.